And there is a wonderful workshop that is going to be taught by Liz Weir. You can see right here on Saturday, February 15th, 2025. And if you want to have the time, there is a link at storycrossroads.org/all things story. Not only the time, but also for registration. But let's actually learn a little bit more. So, Liz, you've actually worked with older adults for quite a long time. Tell me about when you first got involved with older adults and how that has maybe changed with how you work with them today.
Well, I suppose I started working with older adults before I became one myself, probably maybe 30 years ago. I was going in quite green, quite new, not really sure what I was doing. I was probably telling them stories and talking a lot. And as time has passed, I've seen that it's not all about me. It's not all about the storyteller. You need to make space for those older adults to talk as well, because you have to ask yourself why you're being brought in. Are you brought in just to simply entertain? Or are you being brought in to stimulate memory or to get conversation going? So on each occasion when you're going to do a job with any age group, you have to find out exactly what's required from it. So I think I've certainly changed my approach to allowing more space for other people rather than telling story after story after story.
Well, and giving that space is so important, but it took time to get there. You said about 30 years worth. When did it really have that big aha moment?
Um, well, maybe, well, it's got progressively better, I suppose, over the time. When COVID hit,
Hmm.
and we were reduced to doing stuff online, like every other storyteller, work stopped. And when we were doing storytelling online, I was working with sometimes individuals in their own homes, people suffering from dementia, living with dementia. And it became much more important to have more conversation than me talking at people. You'll notice I call my workshop, Is She Still Talking? Because when I go out to nursing homes, sometimes if I talk too much, I soon get put in my box. Somebody says, What about us? So I look at that with great humor, because some of the situations they can be funny, and you really have to adapt to who you've got in front of you.
Well, and not taking some of those comments personally, being able to give space even to those comments, right? And being able to adapt in the moment. So as you go forward, I think you even said you're in the middle of several different workshops or connections with older people, just like even now, in the
Mhm.
midst of doing this workshop for Story Crossroads. What motivates you personally the most to keep doing it?
I think because I hear such wonderful stories, I am fascinated by people and the stories they have to tell, and I love hearing their stories. Storytellers need to be quite inquisitive and nosy. So I think that we did a project a while ago called "Memories Are Made of This," where we told stories to groups of older people, and then on the fourth session we brought in children, made it intergenerational, and that was brilliant because the questions the children asked were could be really funny. Like, what sort of phone did you have? And the people were saying, phone? We didn't have any sort of phone. The kids can't conceive of a world where there's no phone. So that I love. And then, at the moment I'm doing reminiscent stuff, trying to get people to think about their own lives. And, our lives don't always go in a nice straight line, especially when it comes to living with dementia. It's easier to remember something from childhood than it is where you put your car keys. That's my case anyway. Sometimes I can't remember where I put them. So it's about drawing out themes, and in the workshop I'll be talking about that. Just everyday themes that I have found provoke conversation. I think that's very important to show what we have in common. And you asked about when I started doing this. My life experience wasn't as good when I started doing this. I didn't understand as much, and I think that's one of the things about getting older. You're developing more life experience. So if I can pass on the experience I've learned to younger storytellers now, save them taking all those years to find out.
And with this workshop coming up, what would you like people to be prepared to be ready to do when we gather on February 15th virtually through Zoom?
Well, I suppose I want them to open their own minds. When I've done it before, people have said that I reminded them of things in their own lives that they hadn't thought of before. because although we are storytellers and I spend a lot of time teaching about developing repertoire and finding appropriate stories, which I will be touching on, but it's also to remind us that we're all human. We've all had grannies or fathers or mothers or aunties, and you can bring in your own life and life experience to trigger other people's thoughts. So I think have an open mind, be prepared for me. I'll try not to talk too quickly because I get enthusiastic. So be prepared for me to share experience that life has taught me. I mean, I've been told, I once did a wonderful thing. I thought it was wonderful, where I usually sing as part of it. And this woman said, that the singer would be turning in her grave. And I said, why? And she said, because you can't sing. And I went, oh dear. So, you can get quite a lot of insults, but sure, that's what keeps you going, that humorous nature to it. And I always say to people that it's not that people get grumpier as they get older, it's just that grumpy people get older. So I think that's quite an important distinction.
Right. And I love that. So everyone, remember, this is the workshop called Is She Still Talking? Storytelling with Older People and Those Living with Dementia. And Liz, we're so excited about February 15th, 2025. And all of you, if you can't make that time, and there's a time zone converter to figure it out where you are, then you could still register for it and opt for the recording. Though, as we know, the virtual live is going to be a lot more fun than the recording, but still, that is an option for you. And until we tell again,